All right, guys, happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. I was having a great weekend, totally normal. Went to the farmer's market with the kids, took them to the toy store. And then somebody texted me and said that Beyonce's mommy came for me on Instagram. I said, what? Excuse me? Tina Knowles? What have I done to deserve this? This is so wrong. We're going to talk about that. Also, we have former Vice President Mike Pence, who has come after RFK Jr. Apparently, he does not believe that he should be confirmed, and he's got an interesting reason as to why. Plus, another day, another watch list. What would your reaction be if I told you that a foreign nation was bragging about creating a technology to monitor the speech of Americans online? What if I told you that me and Tucker Carlson are on their list, and you can guarantee that the mainstream media is not going to report on it? I wonder what country that could be. And lastly, in pop culture, a young woman was offered $12 million to sign an NDA after dating country star Zach Bryan. She said no, and it's controversial indeed, but I think that she made a very poor decision, and I'm going to tell you why. Welcome to Candace. So my little sister called me this morning. She's like the nice one, the soft one. And she told me to remember that we were raised to show respect to our elders. She said, be nice to Ms. Tina Knowles. And I am going to be nice. I'm going to be as gentle as I possibly can to Beyonce's mammy going on here. But I have to say, I am not Becky with the good hair. I'm not going to tolerate this, trying to play the culture, thinking everyone's going to think it's a slam dunk. Oh, no, we're not doing that. There will be a response here. So let me just back it up to give everyone a refresher of how this drama all started. So Kamala lost the election. And then people were stunned when a political reporter broke the story that despite having $1 billion in the bank at the start of this year, the Biden-Harris campaign ended with negative $20 million. This was the tweet. This is the reporter, Christopher Cadelago. He wrote Kamala Harris's campaign ended with at least $20 million in debt, per two sources familiar. She raised over $1 billion and had $118 million in the bank as of October 16th. So just a couple of weeks before the election, this woman had $118 million in the bank, and then it all magically evaporated. And then the DNC staffers and the campaigners began pointing the finger at one another as to who or what was to blame for this colossal failure and also just financial irresponsibility. And in the midst of the blame game, a Kamala campaign staffer leaked to the press. Make that clear. A Kamala campaign staffer leaked to the press with specific amounts that musical celebrities had been paid for their endorsements. Allegedly, they listed Megan Thee Stallion, they listed Eminem, and they listed Beyonce with specific amounts. So again, let's not forget this. The rumor came from Kamala's campaign, and then it blew up, and it was everywhere, absolutely everywhere. I was actually late to covering it. I was 4 days late to covering the news item on my own show. But I'm just going to refresh your memory that this did not come from Candace Owens, and everyone was reporting this. Here is Fox News, the show outnumbered, a host, 5 or 4 hosts discussing it. Take a listen.
So I was really curious to see, did any of those celebrities, Beyonce, $10 million. Did she vote for Kamala Harris?
Right.
I mean,
before.
And for one, just Megan Thee Stallion got, $5 million. I don't know, and Kamala Harris doesn't know what these people would do if they got that money. And as I understand it, some of the fundraising emails that you were just talking about were still going out Tuesday night at 10 p.m.
Okay, no response from Beyonce's mammy. Then Patrick Bet-David, alongside Charlie Kirk and a host of other people, discussed it on the PBD podcast. Take a listen.
They gave Oprah Winfrey $1 million. I bet Oprah's pissed off that they gave Beyonce 10 times what they gave her.
It's Chris Cuomo up there as well. Again, no response from Beyonce's mammy. And then the biggest podcaster in the world, discussed it on his podcast alongside comedian Jeff Dye. Let's listen to Joe Rogan.
How much did Beyonce get?
She got $10 million.
$10 million?
But hold on. She talked for like 3 minutes. That's good.
What do you mean that's good?
That's enough.
That's too much.
No, it's plenty. It's perfect.
$10 million.
It's a good deal. It's a good deal, the taxpayers' money. It's a good deal, all these people that are like donating money to the Democratic Party, and there's $20 million in debt.
You
Here's the crazy thing.
Mutants.
So it's worth noting that during this time frame, the Daily Mail, Newsweek, publications left and right went out to Kamala's campaign and Beyonce's team multiple times to confirm these reports, to confirm these amounts. Both refused to respond to it. So then Candace Owens covers it on her show, again, late to the party last week. And apparently this is what broke Beyonce. Beyonce just completely had some sort of a mental breakdown and called her mommy about this. And it's like Candace Owens is saying what everybody else has been saying for an entire week, but this is Candace Owens. And this must have been what led her team to decide to phone it in to Mark Zuckerberg, which, by the way, is 100% what happened. Take this to the bank, okay? Somebody had a contact at Meta. And they contacted Meta and said, can you take down Candace Owens' post, despite the fact that this went viral and it was everywhere? She wanted my post about it to be removed. And to be clear, in my post, I said, allegedly. Joe Rogan is not saying allegedly there. I was clear that it was a report. I was clear of where exactly the report came from and said that it was still pending because we were awaiting the FEC final report, which is supposed to come from Kamala's campaign, which would include amounts to Beyonce. And so when you have a report and when you're basically saying this is allegedly, it's coming from this campaign, there's no way that you can get this taken down from Instagram. Again, because those words allegedly, it's a report and we're waiting for a confirmation, protect you. There's no standard for this. And still, Beyonce and her team managed to get my post taken down specifically, my post being the only post that was taken down. I'm just showing you this. They flagged this as false information reviewed by third-party fact checkers. And you can still see the caption we put on that. We put the word allegedly next to it. Beyonce was paid $10 million to endorse Kamala, ? Allegedly. So it's really shocking. Even in the article, they are rating this false, but they say that they can't debunk the report. It just says, well, there's no evidence for this just yet, which basically means, look, Beyonce's team's upset. We don't have evidence for it yet. So we're going to take it down just to placate them. Absolutely ridiculous, pathetic. I think it's spineless. And like, of all of the things that have been said about me on the internet, every day there's something fake that I said. I promise you, I never said it. I'm being attacked. I'm like, there's no clip of me saying it. There's no means for me to ever get it taken down, but she was able to do this. It was a total elitist move. Anyways, Mammy Tina decides to brag about these elitist connections that someone was clearly able to pull behind the scenes, able to pull these strings and target just Candace Owens. And she posted this to her Instagram page. She posted, so this, and this is a picture of my show page, so this has been flagged on Instagram as fake news and taken down. It's called false information. Sadly, other platforms with a lack of integrity still have it up. So she's admitting this is just a target of Candace Owens. The lie is that Beyonce was paid $10 million to speak at a rally in Houston for Vice President Kamala Harris, when in fact Beyonce did not receive a penny for speaking at presidential candidate Vice President Kamala Harris's rally in Houston. In fact, she actually paid for her own flights for her and her team and total glam. She's not even aware of how privileged that sounds. They are not only lying and disrespecting Beyonce's name, but they are trying to further discredit the power of our vice president. When does the lies and rumors stop? She meant to say when do. Of course, you won't see this in the news! ! Times 5. Okay, so parking aside the fact that Tina Knowles is still grifting off her ex-husband's last name so people know that she's related to Beyonce. To be clear, Tina and her ex-husband Matthew divorced 13 years ago. Her name is Tina Lawson, not Knowles, but let's keep up the Knowles so people can put some respect on your name. We have to seriously ask ourselves why she chose to target just me, which, by the way, this whole post, as cool as she thought she was, with John Legend in the comments, just being like, yeah, you got her. It was actually not well received by the public at all. So I'm going to show you the comments under the Instagram page, which broke the story, which was the neighborhood talk. And you can see, we're just showing you these comments in a row. Somebody writes, Tina, hush. Next person says, she's basically saying they got a bigger bag than a messy 10 million. How preposterous is that? She then says, she lost me at discredit vice president. Hope when the receipts are publicly posted, that'll be the end of that, allegedly. Next person says, that-ish public record, go ahead. Next says, I know she is Beyonce's mom, but she does too much. Next person says, Tina, give it up, please. On the following page, it's more of the same. Beyonce never speaks for herself. She was paid, Tina. Beyonce doesn't do anything for free. She got paid. Next person, she was definitely paid. This actually makes Kamala look bad because if the celebrities wasn't paid, then where is all that money at? And lastly, this person says all of these artists denying being paid and the campaign funds literally got drained to negative digits. How? 10 years ago, comments like that would have been unfathomable. That many Black people openly speaking out and questioning the queen in this way. The queen could do no wrong 10 years ago. Oh my gosh, if you said one thing about Beyonce, the whole hive came for you. You were over, you were done. Couldn't touch one hair on her pretty head. We now fast forward 10 years and you have Candace Owens casually stating that I don't even think that Beyonce's had a good album since 4. She's just a part of the establishment machine. Everything she does, no matter what, they pretend that it's amazing and that it's awesome. And quite frankly, it's not a challenge to her. It's not a challenge to her to be told, like her and Taylor Swift are, that everything they do is amazing, even when it sucks. So Beyonce and her mommy targeted me, this is my belief, because I'm emblematic of something that frustrates them. It's a changing social economy in the world, where what has always worked for them in the past is no longer interesting to the public. This is an economy where authenticity pays. And Beyonce does not remember what it means to be authentic anymore because she's been playing the role of a queen for so long, and she's grown so accustomed to simply visiting the Commonwealth every 4 years. She comes out. Nobody knows where she is for us, and she comes out, and she reminds us all who we should be voting for. Ah, yes, Hillary Clinton. Please, I'm here, Commonwealth. You people, remember, I am your queen, her and Jay-Z. Oh, yes, please vote for Kamala. As a mother, I'm telling you to do this. Like I said 10 years ago, Beyonce and Jay-Z telling us who to vote for, that would have mattered, but it just doesn't anymore. Actually, it's annoying. People find it to be somewhat annoying. Beyonce, listen to me, girlfriend, because I know you're watching. You don't got a text from your mommy's burner account on Instagram. You're annoying now. It's just tired, okay? You got to switch it up, do something new, seem like a person, pretend you care about the Commonwealth. Maybe every 2 years, come out, do a podcast, pretend to be a human being. All of this is just tired because thankfully we now live in a world that looks and sounds like this. Watch this clip of Donald Trump walking out at UFC over the weekend.
45, soon to be 47, President-elect Donald Trump.
Wish the people at home could hear the sound in this room.
It's so loud in here.
It is so loud. It's always loud when he comes here, but
yes.
Now that he's won, now that he's the president again,
yes.
Oh my God.
The sound that you're hearing, Ms. Tina Knowles and Beyonce, are fighters, people that literally train their bodies in ways that are absolutely incredible. And most of them, in fact, all of them that I have met have backstories where they came from absolutely nothing. You're hearing blue collar workers, you're hearing truckers, you're hearing drivers, you're hearing people that Beyonce likely calls to fix things when they're broken. Okay? Those are the people that are screaming, excited that Donald Trump has been elected. People who would never in a million years spend $2,000 for a seat to watch you sing at your concerts. And so simply, this is just not a world that Beyonce and her mommy know. That's what's happening. By the way, John Jones won the heavyweight belt that night. He defended his heavyweight belt that night. And when he did, he decided to do the viral Trump dance. Take a look at this.
He did the Trump dance. He did the Trump dance. Spinning back kick to the body.
Spinning back kick.
Followed by the Trump dance.
And then he elected to give his heavyweight belt to Donald Trump, who was octagon side. Watch this, Beyonce.
Tonight, it is all about John Jones sharing the belt there with the president-elect Donald Trump. Americans, largely historically, have realized the most success in the UFC. And the greatest American fighter of all time is that man, John Bones Jones, now successful in the first defense of his heavyweight title.
I know Beyonce is used to being bowed down to by Black women like me, calling her a queen. And when she sees people like him, she assumes that, of course, they don't support Donald Trump. No, they must be more enamored by her husband, Jay-Z, the thug life. Maybe that's the music he should be walking out to. That is, I believe, what Beyonce and her mommy think. That is why they're frustrated with people like me who don't respect that anymore. There's nothing that you do that I respect. And I don't dislike you. I want to be very clear. I don't find Beyonce to be someone that is bothersome in any way. But I'd like some answers. I think the public, if you want to start with being authentic, maybe give us some answers about Diddy's parties. Your husband's been close with him. You think we're just going to pass all by that and you're going to, what, flip your hair and talk about another one of his affairs and people are going to lose interest in it because your mommy is tweeting and calling things fake news that haven't even been confirmed to be fake news? I would really caution you to see which way the wind is blowing, girlfriend, because it is not in your favor. And that's all I'm going to say on that topic. All right, guys, before we get into this next topic, which is crazy, in many ways, this past election brought abortion to the forefront. We saw that there are many states who have radicalized abortion, and tragically, thousands of babies will continue to lose their lives, which is why Preborn, the nation's largest pro-life organization, is on the front lines for at-risk babies and mothers who are facing unplanned pregnancies. Preborn's network of clinics are positioned in the highest abortion rate areas in the country. They are equipping these clinics with the resources they need to save these precious lives and provide compassionate support to mothers for up to 2 years after birth, all at no cost. Preborn knows that when a woman sees her baby on an ultrasound, she is twice as likely to choose life because of this. Our year-end goal is to sponsor 20,000 ultrasounds, saving over 15,000 lives. So I hope you'll help us reach that goal. It costs just $28 to sponsor one ultrasound. Whatever the gift, whether large or small, it will go towards life. And now Preborn will match your gift, doubling the amount. To donate, just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. Again, that's pound 250 baby. Or you can go to preborn.com/Candace. That's preborn.com/Candace. All right, guys, let's get into some stories. By the way, speaking of RFK Jr., he was with him. He was with Donald Trump that night, obviously walked out. It looked like the Avengers were assembling, which is why it was super interesting. You know, he has been, without question, the most controversial appointment. Trump naming him a secretary to the HHS is something that people are freaking out about because we live in a country that's run by a drug cartel. If you're not awake to that, I suggest you wake up to that. And we know exactly who's freaking out. The COVID people are freaking out. They had so much power, the drug cartel. They were able to make you stay at home. They were able to make you lose your jobs. Really think about that. Never forget what COVID was. That was a very scary time where we realized just how bureaucratic our country had become, that we had given over our country to bureaucracy. And somebody who has been opposed to that, and this is why I support him in this capacity only. I want to be very clear. There's tons of policies that RFK Jr. Stands behind, whether it's economic or social, that I disagree with. But he has been an absolute hero and forthright, and he has been speaking about this issue long before it was popular and was called a conspiracy theorist. So you have to respect RFK Jr. and this appointment. I do believe that he will go after the FDA, that he will go after the CDC, and that he will shrink government and give power back to parents to decide what they want to do with their own kids. The concept of not being allowed to go into school because you're not comfortable giving your infant, if they're going to daycare or if your child is going to kindergarten, you're not comfortable giving these tiny bodies a ton of injections that have things like mercury, and the doctor pressures you to do it, but then if something happens to your kid, they're like, sorry, that's on you, mom. I just did my job. I get paid. And they do. They're incentivized. This is another corruption thing. Pediatricians are not kicking you out because they're concerned about your child, your unvaxxed child, being around vaccinated children. It's because they're given financial incentives to keep your child on schedule by the insurance companies. They get kickbacks, right? But don't let me go off on a rant about that. You guys already know how much I hate Big Pharma. Anyways, this is the right man for the job. So it was quite shocking when former Vice President Mike Pence decided to speak out against this appointment. Here is what he posted. He wrote, the Trump-Pence administration was unapologetically pro-life for our 4 years in office. There are hundreds of decisions made at HHS every day that either lead our nation toward a respect for life or away from it. And HHS under our administration always stood for life. I believe a nomination of RFK Jr. to serve as Secretary of HHS is an abrupt departure from the pro-life's record of our administration and should be deeply concerning to millions of pro-life Americans who have supported the Republican Party and our nominees for decades. He continues, for the majority of his career, RFK Jr. has defended abortion on demand during all 9 months of pregnancy, supports overturning the Dobbs decision, and has called for legislation to codify Roe v. Wade. If confirmed, RFK Jr. would be the most pro-abortion Republican appointed secretary of HHS in modern history. Okay. So you get this. He is obviously making an appeal to people who are pro-life. I am pro-life, and saying, look at this man's record on abortion. And by the way, he's not lying about his record on abortion. But he's not being completely honest here about what this rule calls for. He is not being nominated to the Supreme Court. That would be significant, right? We've already turned over Roe v. Wade, which is to say that it is no longer in the hands of the federal government. And this is a federal appointment. There is nothing RFK Jr. can do within his capacity to get Roe v. Wade unoverturned. I don't think that's even possible. It would have to be a whole brand new case that was brought before the Supreme Court, and a jury of 9 men, as was the case with Roe v. Wade, would have to decide to codify it, which is completely unconstitutional. Of course, it's unconstitutional, which is why it got overturned in the first place. Trump already sent it back down to the states. And so I'm not sure why he's pretending that his perspectives, which I do believe that RFK Jr. has the wrong perspectives on abortion. It's unclear why he's leaving out that he'd be rendered completely powerless to do anything because it's no longer a federal issue. It's a state issue. So this seemed to me to kind of already let us know, because I think this is going to be probably the ugliest confirmation process. Him and Matt Gaetz will be the ugliest confirmation process the Senate has seen since Kavanaugh. I do believe that. And you should be expecting tons of people to be outraged about this. But the big question is why? And the reality is that the lobbies that are in D.C., the largest lobbies are AIPAC and Big Pharma. And so there are going to be people that are moralizing, people that are saying all of these reasons that he shouldn't be appointed. But at the end of the day, if you look and see how much money they have received from certain groups, it'll become much clearer. So I'm going to be respectful to VP Pence because I know that the MAGA community does not like him, but in every capacity that I have met him, he has always been very respectful. He's always been very kind. I disagree with him on a lot that he has done. And I do see a lot of it as being treacherous and traitorous to Trump and his administration, but I'm going to separate that from what he is saying here and just report on this in a way that is responsible and say he's making a point. We don't want RFK Jr. In control of abortion policy if he was a part of the state legislature, but that isn't the circumstance here, and I do want to see him appointed to see him just completely slash all the bureaucracy that we lived through during COVID, which he was an absolute stalwart on. All right, guys, now this is super interesting. Speaking of our government and our government just growing and spending money overseas and them losing money. We went over last week how they sent millions of dollars to people that were definitively dead, COVID payments that went out. We know this is just one big money laundering operation. Well, guess what? The Pentagon has failed its 7th audit in a row. They have lost, but not able to fully account for $824 billion. Okay? $824 billion that the Pentagon has not been able to account for in their audit that was announced on Friday. It's unbelievable. They have an $824 billion budget, and they just get to go look at us in the face and go, we don't know where the money went. Every couple of years, we don't know where the money went. And it's like, we know where the money is going. Okay. It's very clear. This is why these people vote in this way. It seems to be being laundered and somehow probably going back into 501c3s in America through an entire channel. But the fact that this is allowed, while if you missed spending $20, right, giving the government $20, right, your taxes, you use H&R Block, you get something wrong and you owe them $20. They're essentially just going to be like, now you owe us times 20 of that because it's late. You didn't file on time, and you can go to prison. And I don't see why this should not be the exact same circumstance that government officials face when they magically lose billions of dollars, when they just can't account for billions of dollars, right? It's always the little people. The little people, you got to go to prison. Oh, yeah, he's going to prison because he didn't pay $500 on his tax. He hid the money that really the government has no business. Taxation is in fact theft, and I believe it's unconstitutional. And it was supposed to be a temporary measure. They used war. Oh, income tax is going to be temporary. It's never temporary. When the government says it's going to be temporary, it's never temporary, my friends, okay? And now we are paying all of this money, and they don't know where it's going. I would check Zelensky's pockets. I'd go over and see how many more yachts him and his staff can purchase before we start to go, maybe we're sending it overseas. I don't know. Maybe kind of the stuff that we learned on Biden's laptop, Hunter Biden's laptop, might be real. Maybe 10% is going to the big guy. It's just unbelievable how fraudulent and dishonest they're allowed to be while purporting to pretend that they are morally above us and somehow able to prosecute the Americans who can hardly afford gas when they try to maybe get paid under the table so that they don't have to pay high taxes. You're the bad guy. not your government being unable to account for billions and billions of dollars. I believe our country was sold out a long time ago, and that the majority of our congressmen are blackmailed. Speaking of which, you're not going to believe this. I don't even know where to start with this, because I think a lot of you are really still asleep at the wheel when it comes to Israel, and just the things that they're able to do that if any other country did, it would be completely outrageous and you would be rightfully outraged. But somehow we've all been like brainwashed by the mainstream media and AIPAC spending really good money to think that like when Israel does it, it's totally fine. So the Jerusalem Post over the weekend reported that me and Tucker Carlson are being monitored by a foreign country. Like I said, normally people would be outraged, but there's just an astounding level of hypocrisy when it comes to the topic of Israel. So apparently there is a ministry that's been established in Israel called the Diaspora Affairs of Combating Anti-Semitism, okay? And the minister of those affairs recently sat down with the Jerusalem Post to discuss how they had been successful in getting pro-Palestinian student groups, which a group that's called Students Justice for Palestine, how they were successful in getting that group shut down in both the United States and Canada. Okay, great use of our taxpayer dollars, by the way. They've been taking so much money from us. Now they get to fund it back and control what our students are doing on campus, whatever. But the journalist that he's sitting down with doesn't think that that's enough. Actually, the journalist is concerned about, well, what about speech online? Like, how are we going to censor speech online that we don't approve on? And I want you guys to listen to what this minister says here. But I want you to listen in a different way. I want you to imagine this is Zelensky, okay? I want you to imagine you're hearing President Zelensky sitting down saying that he's using technology to monitor Americans to stomp out anti-Ukrainianism. Okay, because I think that's really the only way that some of you guys are going to wake up to how disturbing it is for any foreign nation to be speaking like this openly. Okay, take a listen to this clip.
These kind of reports, these kinds of work is very, very important. It takes a lot of time to prove it, to bring all the information. But this is a significant activity that comes from the research department that we have in the office and from the war room that allows to monitor basically everything that goes on in terms of OSINT, open source intelligence.
Right. So I mean, these reports are based on, like you said, social media posts, and according to that, you kind of understand social
It is
trends.
a massive scanning of endless accounts.
Right.
With AI technology, this is something which is very, very helpful.
Yeah. So are you sending these reports out to the social media companies as well? Because even if the organizations are banned from, organizing and protesting in person, that language still exists online.
We work regularly with the leadership of various social organizations. We had a lot of correspondence, especially with TikTok, because TikTok was very, very problematic, especially at the beginning of the war. They have taken a lot of steps to try and prevent anti-Semitism to go widely in their platform. It is better now than it was 10 months ago, but still there's a lot of work to do, especially on X.
I see. The Diaspora Affairs Ministry, now Diaspora Affairs and Combating Anti-Semitism Ministry, has faced criticism in the past for politicizing anti-Semitism, claims that anti-Semitism is being focused on one side of the political spectrum and not the other. How do you respond to such claims?
It's not true. It's not accurate. And actually, when you look at the recent trends of anti-Semitism in North America, we're seeing influencers such as Candace Owens, such as Tucker Carlson, who is a leading leader and influencer, hosting someone who is a Holocaust denier. And I reacted publicly on his statements, and I think it was a disaster. And this is very, very problematic. So when I see Tucker Carlson, who is such an influencer and is a key role in the right-wing political dimension of America, hosting someone who is a Holocaust denier, we're not silenced about it, not at all. And same goes to Candace Owens, same goes to less known but also impactful influencers such as Dan Balzerian, who became all of a sudden to be a Quran and Islam promoter, not just poker and other stuff.
It's a very quick change, yeah.
Yeah, he became very religious recently. And we're trying also to understand who is paying for these people. I'm not mentioning Carlson, because Carlson, we had this problem with Carlson also before, but with people like Balzerian, all of a sudden he changed the narrative and is speaking about Quran and Islam and about the state of Israel. And it seems like there is, maybe, we're not sure yet, it seems like there is a Qatarian effort behind some of these influencers and the change that they've made in their opinions.
So let me just spell out for you what he just said. We have the power to shut down American and Canadian student groups. We got TikTok under control because people were leaning too pro-Palestinian, and now we are coming for X, and now we are monitoring Americans who we believe are influencing people to be anti-Semitic. And what he really means is not, of course, anti-Semitism, because Palestinians are Semitic people. But what they mean are people who have any critiques of the Israeli government. Everybody understands that by now. It's plainly true. Like if you just have any critique. And he's like, yeah, these people magically woke up one day and decided to just hate Israel. I wonder what happened. Like, there's nothing that we're doing that could have been upsetting to people that they could have been critiquing. It's not like, 20,000 children have been bombed and murdered. Like it's just got to be anti-Semitism. That's what we're going to button this up as. If you are under some delusion that you think that this is okay, acceptable, if you believe that your Schofield Bible tells you that you're going to be blessed if you bless people that are now coming for your speech, that are trying to get laws passed and are bragging about getting laws passed, who are saying that they were successful in controlling speech on TikTok and are coming after and creating lists of people who they view to be problematic for not getting into line. If you don't think that that perspective is going to bite you in the ass, you need to wake up, okay? What it means to be a conservative, what it means to be a Christian, what it means to be a Republican is to defend the right of free speech always. There's not a magic clause where you just go, oh, well, unless it's this one country, then it's totally fine if they do things and I'm against. So, like, I'm pro-life and I'm against child murder, unless it's this one country, then I feel differently about that. I feel it's somehow special. That's not the way this works, okay? I get it. People don't want to be maimed. They don't want to be caricatured. But he is sitting up there now lying, okay? Just sprinkling some seeds of doubt to imply that I'm being funded by Qatar. What? I mean, it's absolute nonsense. You can't just call everybody pro-Hamas funded by Qatar because they reasonably have Christian perspectives that children should not be blown up by the thousands, okay? By the thousands as a response to an attack that took place over a year ago. This doesn't work for me, okay? And I am really disturbed by the fact that, like I said, if you listen to that and it came from Zelensky, people would be outraged, and rightfully so. If you listen to that and you imagine that it was Vladimir Putin saying that, we're monitoring people in America, we're monitoring their speech, we're getting organizations shut down that are anti-Russia, people would be outraged. But we know fully well that there will not be a single voice outside of maybe Ron Paul and Thomas Massey. There will be no voices in government that are going to say anything about that, because instead, our government, the first act of business when they get into office is to say we are allied to Israel. They don't even think about America. Literally, John Thune just got the role as Senate Majority Leader, and his first official phone call, which he took a picture of and posted on his Twitter page, was this: spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu and reaffirmed the United States' commitment to standing with Israel, our closest friend and ally. I mean, that's just stunning. Can you wait a week? Could you pretend like there's somebody else? Like, could you call, I don't know, somebody else, anybody else? Like, if it's like at any other country, if I got elected and I said, first order of business, spoke to Vladimir Putin and reaffirmed our support to Russia, people would be outraged. And by the way, I will say people in the comments were outraged by this. All we're asking for is America, not just first, but always, okay? Like, defending the Constitution always is what we're asking for. No magic carve-outs, no exceptions. Defending the right of speech always. And so if you're wondering why the left and the right are united in no longer being enamored by Israel, as I once was, it's not because I'm being funded by Qatar. It's not because I support terrorist groups. It's not because I support Hamas, okay? Or that I'm a part of some network that supports Hamas. It's because I'm an American. And free speech matters always. Take a break here. Tell you guys about Tax Network USA, because I know there's a ton of people that owe back taxes. The pandemic relief is now over, along with hiring thousands of new agents and field officers. The IRS has kicked off 2024 by sending over 5 million pay-up letters to those who have unfiled tax returns or balances owed. Do not waive your rights and speak with them on your own. They are not your friends. Tax Network USA, a trusted tax relief firm, has saved over $1 billion in back taxes for their clients, and they can help you secure the best deal possible. So whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, they can help you, whether it's business or personal. Even if you have the means to pay or you are on a fixed income, they can help finally resolve your tax burdens once and for all. So call 1-800-958-1000 for a private free consultation, or visit tnusa.com/Candace. Again, that's tnusa.com/Candace. All right, you guys, I am going to now end this with a lighter topic, something that I think is going to be really, frankly, controversial, but I don't think it is. There was this whole cultural thing that was going on, a news item that was happening and kept coming to my attention, and people were asking me what I thought about the Zach Bryan. He is a country star who recently won a Grammy and who broke up with his girlfriend, who you're seeing there in the picture. Her name is Brianna LaPaglia. She goes as Brianna Chicken Fry. I'm not sure why. She has a podcast. It's not a great podcast. Even Dave Portnoy says that, who runs, it's under the Dave Portnoy podcast mini empire. He even says it's like a teeny bopper, talk trash, even though she's 25 years old. And it wasn't a very big podcast. She also hosts a podcast called Plan Brie. I've heard it, and I just don't think this is like a huge podcast. It never has been. Anyways, point of this being, she began dating a 28-year-old musician named Zach Bryan, and he got really big. And they only dated for 1 year, and then they broke up. And I'm interested in this topic because I'm interested in the Me Too movement. I'm interested in men. I'm interested in, as the Me Too movement pertains to men is what I should say. And I'm interested in this topic because business and the way women deal with business is just a different way than a man's brain works when it comes to business. Anyways, after they broke up, she instantly took to the internet and cried and said that she was surprised by the breakup, which would imply that they were in a great relationship, because otherwise, why would you be surprised that you broke up? But he informed the public on Instagram, and she posted this from her bathroom. Just take a listen to what she said.
I just woke up to Zach posting on his Instagram that we broke up, and I had no idea that post was going up. He didn't text me, he didn't call me. I just woke up to a bunch of texts being like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, did my dad die? And yeah, so I'm completely blindsided by that. I also genuinely feel like I have, do you see how swollen my face is? I've been crying for 5 days straight.
So here's where it gets interesting. So she posts that, and then she decided to go on her podcast, and Dave Portnoy kind of announced to the entire world that Zach Bryan had offered her $12 million to sign an NDA and to just not speak about their relationship at all publicly. That's what he's asking for. And she decides not to take the $12 million and to instead speak about the relationship publicly. Here is what Dave Portnoy had to say about that with Brianna.
Brianna was offered basically a payout to sign an NDA to not talk about the breakup, things that happened, and it's a ton. $12 million is what it ended up being. And I was going back and forth with her a lot.
Me and Dave even texted and it was like we can't tell Brie not to.
Turning down $12 million is
it's crazy.
I sat on the back porch of the Duxbury house that he bought for us to live in next to my family and have a family in. And I sat on that back porch with my aunt, and we looked out at the water, and we looked at this $10 million house, and I'm like, for what? I'm going to get all these millions and just to have a backyard to sit in and thank Zach for? It was never about the money. I was with the dude because I loved the dude. Everything glamorous, rich, or cool about him was the that I hated about him, or I hated being with him for.
Okay, so just reminding you, she dated him for 1 year. He bought her a $10 million house, bought her a car, a house that's near her family, and then they magically broke up. And it's not about the money for her, which is why she walked away from the $12 million deal. But she also wants you to know, she suddenly pivots and says that actually the relationship was emotionally abusive. Now, emotionally abusive can mean a range of things, obviously. It's an emotionally abusive relationship that she was in. And again, she decides to speak about this on a podcast that is sponsored by Cane's Chicken. Take a listen.
It's not just for me. It's for anyone else that's been emotionally abused. It's for people right now that are being emotionally abused. It's for people that don't have a support system that I was luckily enough to have going through this. And the last year of my life has been like the hardest year of my life, like dealing with the abuse from this dude. And even on last week's episode, I'm still scared right now because I'm like scared of him still. My brain's rewired. Like I'm scared to make him mad. And last week I didn't want to talk about it because I was scared. So I was like, yeah, we can just talk about the stuff that's public. And I still said, F your money, but it came down to the point of I'm not the people before, and I was someone before you, and you made the women before me believe that they had no other choice than to take money from you, sign their experiences away, sign what they went through away. You get to go skip off and sing your little songs on stage like you're a good dude. You get to treat people around you like, sorry, I'm not them. I don't want your money. I don't want in 2 years to buy a house and think, oh, this is the money from the dude that literally destroyed me and broke me for a year. That, you. I don't want your money. And this isn't me getting on this isn't like a drama thing for me. This isn't me not signing the NDA or not taking the money because I want to get on here and expose who he is and his secrets and all that. I didn't sign the NDA. I didn't take the money because I'm not signing away my experiences and what I went through to protect someone that hurt me. And I'm a lot stronger than a weak man, and I'm not you, your money, you. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, so this is where she loses me. So she says it's not about the drama, it's not about the money, and it's not about exposing his secrets. It's about her just really being an example to all the other women who may have been emotionally abused in the world, which really explains why Dave Portnoy decided to release a diss track about him, I believe. Like that conversation was sponsored by Cane's Chicken. And then you have now 2 diss tracks that he's written about Zach Bryan, which I'm going to assume wasn't done for free since you can download that. And let's take a listen to what the lyrics are of these diss tracks regarding Zach Bryan and his 1-year relationship with Brianna.
Trust me, cut your pants on fire. Trust me, cut your pants on fire. Knew you was a liar.
There it is, guys. And then it was released in the news that, yeah, that's what happened. He was cheating on her the entire time they were on a relationship. He was on Tinder, Bumble, Raya, as those lyrics say. And then the lyrics go on to say that he had an STI, because you're probably wondering, why would he pay her $12 million to be quiet about their relationship? And so also Dave Portnoy released to the public the fact that this guy also had an STI. And so if you want me to believe that you're doing this because it's about emotional abuse and it's not about money and it's not about drama, then having your boss drop 2 songs and multiple podcasts that are sponsored by Cane's Chicken is not the way to do it. If you had said, oh, there was physical abuse here and this is why I've decided not to accept the money, to me, sounds like you got out pretty well. And by the way, she may just be obtuse and genuinely doesn't realize that this entire situation is being monetized, really to her detriment, because there's no way she's going to make $12 million off of this situation. Maybe Dave Portnoy could figure out a way to do that, but I don't even think he's making $12 million off of this situation. If she really is that obtuse and doesn't realize that actually this now is a situation that reflects poorly on her, right? You're speaking about a relationship. It's not required. You're not giving anybody anything too drastic other than the fact that it was emotionally abusive. You're telling us he was drunk, that one night he yelled at your friends is what she's released to the public, and that he smashed a phone. I believe all that's true. I'm not discounting her version of events. I am certain that country artists get drunk. Let me guess, he drinks whiskey and maybe some bourbon and he gets home late. I've heard the songs. I don't doubt this whatsoever, but I also don't accept that you're some perfect victim who is really doing this because you are doing this for women and any other women who have ever thought that, they couldn't speak out. I think you're doing this because somebody told you could make more money by outing a country star that's at the top of his career, by letting the public know that he maybe used to have an STI or gave somebody an STI, which I think is pretty crappy both ways. But yeah, That's all I'm going to say about that, because I think everybody's being overly sympathetic to her, and she's playing the game, and she's playing it the wrong way, because you can only do so many podcasts talking about your 1-year relationship, and it's just not going to add up to $12 million. Poor business decision, in my view. All right, guys, I'm going to get to some of your comments today. I see that this is a longer episode. Just quickly going to remind you that American financing, the Fed has dropped interest rates, so you should definitely give them a call today. Now is the perfect time to consolidate your debt and reduce your monthly expenses. A lot of us have been forced to use credit cards because of the ridiculous prices at the grocery store, power, and even childcare. The debt is expensive with credit card rates being so high, but with mortgage rates dropping, now is the time to wipe that debt out. American financing is helping homeowners just like you save over $800 a month, on average, and they are even closing some in as fast as 10 days. And if you start today, you may delay 2 mortgage payments. There are no upfront fees to find out how much you could be saving, so call American Financing today at 800-795-1210. That number again is 800-795-1210. Or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. All right, you guys, let's get into some of your comments. See what you guys are thinking today. I'm sure I'm going to be yelled at by some feminists who are like, no, she's so brave. Brianna Chicken Fry is so brave. I'm like, listen, Zach Bryan, if you hear me, if you're watching this, I want your money. I will take your $12 million. I'll pretend I never knew you or saw you, because I actually I don't know you, and I've never seen you. But by the way, remind you guys, our Black Friday sale is on our website. You can head to Club Candace and you can see what we've got going on. We've got 4 different bundles. We've got the Standis Get a Helmet bundle, the Standis For God and Country bundle, the Standis Christ is King bundle, the Standis Blackout bundle, which includes an autographed copy of my book. So if you're looking for a Christmas gift to get to somebody who's like a major Standis, now is the time to do that. Head to clubcandace.com and get your Black Friday bundle. All right, this commenter writes, happy Monday, Candace. When will you talk about some of Trump's Make Israel Great Again picks? MEGA, I've never heard of that. That's the first time I've heard that. And when will you talk about what Trump said about college and university students protesting? I actually have never heard what he said about college and university students protesting. So if you'd like to send us a clip, you can send it to me at info@CandaceOwens.com. I have been very clear that I supported Trump throughout this election. This was a very obvious decision between him and Kamala. Kamala is a communist and Trump is not. Does that mean that I don't have disagreements with Trump? I absolutely have disagreements with Trump. I have said when we went over all of the cabinet picks what my issues were with some of those cabinet picks on last week's show. And I plan to, now that we've all been loyal and gotten him over the line and gotten him into office, it's our duty to hold his feet to the fire. And I think we have. We did that with Mike Pompeo. I mean, we instantly said anybody that's a war hawk, and you could insert anything here, Ukraine, Israel, anywhere that we're sending our money overseas or thinking that Americans should go die on foreign land, we have a right to be outraged about it. I personally have always felt that when push comes to shove, Trump does not want these wars to happen. He does not want these wars to end. He's already signaled that he wants the Israeli-Palestinian conflict to come to a close. And so right now, I don't see a reason to be critical of him. He's not in office yet. And even though he's not in office, he has very much said, I'm not here for never-ending wars. So I think he will stay good on that. We will see. Sarah writes, all my Texas people, let's pray while Beyonce performs at the Super Bowl to combat her evil witch energy. We're a red state. Texas ain't yours anymore, Beyonce. Yeah, I did see that it was announced today that she is performing at the halftime show on Christmas Day, Ravens versus the Texans. At some game down in Houston. Good for her. And like I said, I just think the Beyonce fever has broken in America. Linz writes, Beyonce is actually Tina's maiden last name, according to Beyonce. I think maybe you meant to say Knowles is her maiden last name. Also recommending the SNL video where they freak out because she turned black. She wasn't offended about that. Happy Monday. Yeah, I saw that SNL skit a while ago. Gun Han writes, Candace, you would be very interested to watch Beyonce's father on Jesse Lee Peterson's The Fallen State podcast. Very revealing. Yeah, I think I'm a Beyonce father stan. I know nothing about him, but I just feel like her music was good when he was managing it. So I'm team dad right now. Amber Alexander writes, absolutely love your podcast. Wish I could afford more. Keep doing what you do. It makes a huge difference. Thank you. Thank you. And honestly, the best investment that you guys do is just like sharing my videos, making it go viral, making us a problem for foreign countries because we are speaking openly about what we believe because this is a country where we value free speech. This next user writes, regarding Nicole Scherzinger, as a Muslim guy who moved to the U.S. U.S. about 10 years ago, I was shocked how a lot of Americans mock religious Christians or roll their eyes when someone talks about Jesus. It is sad. Yes, and it's because Christians have, in the past, been weak. I sense that changing. I really do. I think this year was a testament to those changes. I think in the past, for whatever reason, Christians confused meekness with weakness. They thought that it meant that we were just supposed to accept everything and lay over. And you can kind of feel that vibration is being lifted, and people are realizing that Christians need to take a strong stance. And when Christians are strong, and when I believe when real Christians are in positions of power, I think a lot in this world will change. Lastly, this person writes, you once mentioned that everything we learned about history in school is a lie. My question is, how can I tell if a book or article is credible? Data and history can easily be manipulated. I would kind of say, as a good base setting, if it made it into your textbook, it's probably not true. I'd go with that. History is told by the victor. You really should pursue finding authors, people that are on blacklists, people that are disliked by the mainstream media is a good way to go, because they're not a part of the establishment. The frustration that they get when people have open conversations and speak about questioning the narrative at all lets you know that these are established legacies and not facts, because the truth does not fear a lie, but the lie very much fears the truth. And so when you see people being outraged by conversations and speech, it's usually because there is some truth that is being revealed. That is my belief. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for the support. If you want to support the show and our independence, you can head to locals.com. Give whatever you can monthly to keep us free, because we are still demonetized on YouTube. I feel like they're just stealing a lot of money from me. It's just so unfair. But life is unfair. Life's tough, Candace Owens. Get a helmet. Same to you, Tina Knowles. Actually, I don't care what my little sister said. I'm sickened. You disgust me, Tina Knowles. I'm just kidding. I'll see you guys tomorrow.